Welcome to our GAC panel discussion presented by State National Companies. State National is a leading provider of collateral protection insurance, also known as CPI. CPI is used by credit unions to mitigate risk and reduce charge-offs on their loan portfolio. By the end of this discussion, you will be able to learn some tips to create or strengthen a culture of your innovation at your credit union and how that can benefit your membership. Today, we have with us David Crawford, who's the VP of Strategy and Innovation. We also have Trace Ledbetter, who's Executive Vice President of Service. We have John Pearson, who is the Executive Vice President of Sales, and Charlie Miller, who is the VP of Client Services and Operations. If you ask any credit union what is important to them, they will say friction-free, positive member experience. And we actually did that. And we asked more than 100 credit unions when we conducted a survey through Filing Research Institute. And a friction-free, positive member experience is only possible through investments in identifying, cultivating, and implementing cutting-edge technology. Today, we will be speaking with panelists from our state national companies to discuss a culture of innovation and how it has allowed them to deliver exceptionally high client experience. Trace, let's start with you. Can you talk to us about State National culture of innovation?
Sure. For us as an organization, that innovation has been critical. We believe it's been critical to our success over the years, and really part of our, DNA, if you will, all the way back to the beginning or the early years. In the 80s, we were the first ones to come out with computerized tracking. And then into the 90s, early 90s, we were one of the first to really leverage the internet and being able to bring in a portal that allowed access for both the credit unions as well as the members. One of the unique things about the credit union industry is that relationship that the credit union has with the members and how valuable that is and kind of how personal that is. It's not like banks or other institutions. There truly is a unique relationship there. And we believe that our ability to deliver the service to the credit union and the members needed to help amplify that relationship. So everything that we did was really geared towards making it a much more streamlined interaction and responsive. We were able to look at what do people coming to us to try to figure out, present that information to them on the first screen so they're not looking around and hunting for information, present it to them to allow the credit unions to get back to servicing the member and providing the level of service that they've come to expect. So, that philosophy from the credit union and the members kind of became embedded in our DNA and I think has really helped us be successful, all the way back into the early 90s. So yeah, it's been important for us from the start and remains critical to our success today.
Thank you. David, you want to chime in a little bit about what you discussed?
To reinforce what Trace said there, we introduced the online proprietary tracking system specifically designed for our clients to have ease of access to all the information that was available regarding the insurance on their loan portfolio. That was 20 years ago. The following year, we introduced an integrated voice response system through our telephone system, which facilitated the borrowers to get self-service and obtain information relative to their insurance status, as well as what to do to resolve insurance issues without ever having to involve our staff. And it was available, of course, 24/7, which was an advantage to the members to be able to reach out to us. That technological development continued for many years, and later in that decade, we introduced an internal system. And while it was internal, there were resulting benefits for our clients and their members. That system we called VeriTrack, which is short for verification tracking. And the sole purpose of VeriTrack was to queue up calls that needed to be made to insurance companies for verification. And instead of handling millions of pieces of paper throughout the year, we were able to put all that in an online portal where the staff could see the information online, make the call, and update our system all from one screen, which simplified the process and continued our innovation throughout that decade. But innovation never stops, and throughout this conversation today, you'll hear about some more innovations that have occurred at State National in the last 10 years. But I'd like to mention something we're working on right now, and that is a new development that we're calling IntelliTrack, short for Intelligent Tracking. And while we were already the leaders in timely and accurate processing of insurance information, we're not a company that wants to rest on our laurels, and we were looking for even better ways to provide that service. And the first and maybe most obvious way to do it would have been to consider offshoring our production. And that was not a consideration for State National. So instead, I spent a lot of my time in the last couple of years searching out and finding a company to partnership with. And we will, in this spring, be deploying an automated system that will actually classify, identify, and extract the information from insurance transactions and then update them into the State National system without any human intervention. The result of that is we're going to be even faster and even more accurate, and that just moves State National further ahead than the competition.
We've always had a cutting edge environment at State National. I think that's what makes us unique. We look at our business in terms of eliminating the amount of friction involved to make it easier for our customers as well as their members to receive services and get great service delivery from us. I guess the most recent one that I want to point out is we started doing AI claims, artificial intelligence claims, within seconds. Those are the claims that we have a number of them, and we can identify certain contingent pieces of them, and we can pay them within seconds and not involve human interaction. That helps our customers get their money quicker. It helps resolve their issues and one-call resolution. We also developed a portal specific to our business, which is collateral protection. There's a lot of providers out there that provide all different types of insurance. They try to bolt on collateral protection to an overall scheme. We don't do that. Our portal is specific to collateral protection. I think it helps people in terms of looking for specifically what they're trying to accomplish with CPI. Okay, we have a customer of ours, True Sky. They're approaching $1 billion in terms of assets. And the reason they're doing that, I think, is they look at their business from a position of they're a technology company, not a financial services company. And they use technology to augment their financial services business and make them cutting edge. Likewise, I think as an organization, we're a technology company that provides insurance. Another company of ours, partner of ours, is Andrews Federal Credit Union. They're an international, they have international footprint. They have to provide their members virtually. They have to provide a lot of technology to be able to interact with their services. We interact very well with them with our technology to provide a robust delivery of services to their membership.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. I appreciate the examples that you shared with us. Charlie, can you share some examples of how technology influences customer satisfaction for both us and the credit union?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my role, I have an interesting function where I sit in between our client experience and then also the member experience. And we pride ourselves at State National in focusing on building relationships, making our clients feel like they're our only client. We hope that that's how we get across, building those personal relationships, those professional relationships. And I think on the client service side, we do a great job of that. And I think our clients feel that. One of the other things was we get onto the operational side, which is where I also live. we really start to focus on the member experience because that's where our interaction with the membership takes place. I naturally gravitate towards improving that experience, especially as it relates to the notification process. We hear a lot about member noise within that notification process, and get back to where John mentions friction. I think that's where we hear a lot about friction, and our primary goal is to really deploy technology to try and remedy that. If you go back 6 years ago, we were sending paper notices, and we were sending them based on what we needed to do from a regulatory perspective, what we felt were best practices, what were best practices in that space. But there wasn't a lot of opportunity for innovation as there might be on the portal in to get insurance information in and all that sort of thing. But now I think we've been able to add, and going back to 2016, I think we added emails. So now we're starting to communicate in a different way with the members. And then we decided that we were going to make a push to add text messaging. So now we're sending text to the members, just providing them with any number of avenues to receive information in the way that they want to get it. We also took a look at our paper notices that we'd always sent out, and we said, well, how can these become more efficient? And we had learned a few lessons over the years to put this here and put that there and to mention this. And hopefully those would really drive the inbound information. We started to list all of the 6 or 7 different ways, from fax to email to text, where they can provide documents into us so that we can get it booked into the system sooner rather than later. We also took steps to proactively increase our ability to communicate with the insurance carriers, to communicate with the agents. We built out our RAP platform where we deployed robotics on that circumstance. We've positioned ourselves to make a lot more phone calls up front in the notice cycle to remedy things like lien holder issues and to deal with situations where we might get something that in the past we had deemed unacceptable, but now we'll make that phone call on it. So I think that we've really made that investment in time and effort to be more focused on how we can get things resolved earlier in the process and limit this process. It's a tough one, and we understand that it's not always the best communication. It's not always what the members want to hear or deal with. We recognize that. We want to make it as smooth as possible.
Yeah, and part of that, it can be a challenging experience for a member. And part of what we've tried to do is, in addition to all the things that Charlie mentioned, is we want to listen to the members. We want to hear what they have to say. One of the things that we've done is we've put in a borrower survey in our contact center. So the borrowers have an opportunity to provide us some feedback. We also do an annual survey of all of our clients, and we really we do employee surveys as well. One of the things that I think is unique about State National that gives us an edge in our industry is the fact that we realize that the best suggestions and the best information comes from ultimately the end user, whether that is an employee, a member, or a credit union. They all interact with us in different ways, and some of the best innovations that we have come from them. And creating that philosophy in an organization where you really listen to those ideas, you kind of have this external up driven innovation, really does give you an edge. One of the things that personally kind of drives me crazy is if I'm looking at something and going, well, why do we do it this way? If the answer is, well, we've always done it that way, that tells me we should probably look at that process. There's room for improvement. And part of that room for improvement, we realized how important it was over the last couple of years. And that's part of the reason we created, David's role, VP of Innovation and Strategy. So many people in so many organizations, a piece of my job is to kind of be forward thinking and strategic, but my day-to-day job is something I'm still responsible for. So by carving out that specific role and dedicating someone to it, I think has really given us a leg up and helped us make a tremendous amount of progress, particularly over the last 12 to 14 months. We viewed that as an opportunity to really create additional distance between us and our competitors. And credit unions are kind of in a similar position. This is all this change has created opportunities for you to rethink how you interact with members, how you meet the member needs, and be able to conduct your business in a slightly different way that is more responsive to the members. So, our industry in some ways parallels the credit union industry and having that opportunity to improve the experience. And again, that was important enough for us to develop a specific role for it. So,
Wonderful. I love the fact that State National is listening to the clients and making the appropriate changes to make them more innovative and helping their process. So thank you, Trace, and thank you, Charlie. Trace mentioned State National created a position for strategy and innovation. David, can you dig deeper on how we had identified opportunities for improvement from our survey that led to better customer service?
Sure. I think you've got to start with how customer expectations have changed over the years. And, that's as a result of new companies and the level of service that they're providing their clients. And I speak particularly about companies like Amazon and how the service level that they provide to their customers has become the new norm in the service industry, and everybody has to rise to meet that level of service, including State National. That was a challenge for State National, and our one of the things that it resulted in was increased insurance verifications that we felt we had to make. And we were able to use some technology to minimize the amount of work involved in those, thanks to other insurance companies that actually provided us with B2B websites we could use. So instead of tying our staff up on the telephone to verify insurance, they were able to do it through a website much more efficiently. But it was still taking more and more people to do it as the numbers of calls that we needed to make increased. And we were constantly adding and training new staff on those areas. So the one thing we did find is using robotic process automation. And we created a process where we could replicate with the robots the work that was being done by the people on the website. And instead of having people log in, the robot can log into the website, and the bot can search, enter the search information, get back the results, extract the data it needs, and actually update our insurance tracking system without having to involve any people. And that was such a success that, we started looking for ways where we could proactively do more insurance verification, which sounds a little counterproductive to what I said earlier, but it was such a success that we thought we can do more of this and save even more time for people. So we actually started introducing the robots to do proactive searching for insurance where we could do it without a policy number. So we didn't need any information from the borrower other than the loan information that we get from you, our credit union clients. And we were able to go out and search and find as much as 30% of the insurance that we searched for. That made a dramatic difference to the number of notices that we were sending and the resulting improvement in customer service that our clients felt and their members felt from the lack of contact that was necessary. So I think that was a big innovation for us. But the innovation's a continuous process, and it never really ends. And whether it's State National doing something to improve the service, or our credit union clients finding ways to utilize technology, it's becoming more and more important that we all spend time doing those things.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. The key word I'm hearing is innovation. John, can you share with us how State National culture of innovation affects the sales process and how it affects our prospects and customers?
Sure. We have a very robust tech solutions. And the reason for that is we're always looking for robust tech solutions. And we're always looking for innovation, even when it's not tech provided. Anything we can do to help make the process more efficient, easier, quicker, and more transparent for our customers is what we're looking for as an organization. Some of the times when I go in on calls, the one line that makes me crazy from prospects is, you guys all sound the same to me. All your insurance people sound alike. You all pay claims. You all insure my drivers, my autos. You all sound the same. But therein lies the total difference there. And sometimes it makes me crazy because that's how we differentiate ourselves. One of the major ways we differentiate ourselves is we're the only ones that do quality measures. We actually, Trace talked about it a little earlier, where we ask our customers, how was your implementation? We ask our customers annually, how are we doing for you? What could we do differently? We take that information and we apply it to our business, and we make changes where we need to. As far as I know, we are the only ones that do a concerted quality effort for our quality measures. Claims, I talked a little bit about AI claims before, but some of the ways we're very unique in the claims business is we do one call resolution. So many providers, you have to, if you have different coverages on an auto loan and you call in for one coverage, you can get the claim on that coverage. You have to call the next person or a third person for other coverages that are on that loan. Not with us. We cover everything right then and there. You can talk to one person and you can review all the coverages where you can collect a claim on it. We're also very unique in that we will remind customers of coverages that they forget that they have. So if they're on the phone and they're saying, okay, we're good here, our people are trained and transparent enough to say, well, hang on a second. Did you realize you had this coverage also that might apply in this situation? As far as I know, we're the only people that do that. It's the other things that make me crazy when people say we're all alike is like recording phone calls. We all do record phone calls, but we're very different in terms of how we take that information and supply it back to our business partners. When we record a phone call, it's immediately available on InsureTrack within 10 minutes after the call is made. It's available on an icon on InsureTrack that they can access. When we talk to our collectors that work with our program, they love to have the immediacy because when they're working alone, they want to have all the information so that they can resolve any issues with that member. We provide all that for them. That's not always the same. Many other providers, you have to request that call. There is a time delay because they have to ensure that the call is okay to release to you, and it takes time to get that information back. So it might seem like a little thing, but it could cause even a 2-week delay, whereas with us, it's instantaneous. I thought it was interesting too. We implemented a new customer of ours, and I was talking to their head of lending, and she remarked that it was very interesting to her that, and it might be a small thing, but she remarked that she really appreciated that we acknowledge receipt of information and request of theirs. And not only would we acknowledge the receipt of it, we would kind of give them an idea of when they could expect it to be resolved and when we would be sending back the claim or whatever the request was, and who on our staff, who on the state national staff was responsible for that. She said in her previous provider that she had, she would send things, she felt like it was in a black hole. She would send it into a black hole. She never realized if they received it. She never realized if she should respond, how long she should wait before she has to respond. And again, that's a little thing, but it's a huge thing when you're talking about customer service and working with their members to provide the best possible service. And lastly, because I used to have a full head of hair and now I don't because I was pulling it out, texting. Everybody says, well, they'll text. Well, in reality, we're the only company out there that actually does the texting for the credit union. We will get a texting provider. We will set that up. We will actually work with them to send out texts in addition to notices, in addition to emails, in addition to all the other ways we respond to the member. Now we do texting. The difference is other providers will give you a contact or a referral at a texting company. The credit union then is responsible for setting up that relationship, that linkage with the texting company. Then that CPI provider will provide a file. Very big difference in terms of the way we handle texting from soup to nuts versus the way some other providers do. So yes, our tech solutions really do stand out in terms of being very unique in the industry.
Thank you, John, for sharing with us what State National does that's unique and different from our competitors. It's becoming clear how State National's culture of innovation has been responsible for our ability to deliver a positive client experience. What can credit unions that are looking to implement or perhaps just amplify their own culture of innovation do to make it happen?
You know, one of the things that we found was really creating that culture of soliciting feedback and getting information from your employees, creating a method for them to contact you, escalate ideas, and really being able or being willing to listen to the ideas, kind of evaluate them, and then figure out which ones you can move forward with and which ones need additional work or additional discovery. And by providing that feedback, you get those ideas from the employees, you immediately give them feedback regarding that idea. It really kind of builds some momentum and gets people comfortable having different ideas or vocalizing those ideas and doing it. You know, one of the things that we also did as a result of that to encourage it was we revamped our employee reward program. And, you know, you get to build some excitement around that. You get to increase the visibility. People are aware of it. They talk about it. And it really does it kind of empower them to come up with a lot of ideas on how to improve the business. And again, it's kind of these micro innovations, ideas that are easy and quick to implement, as David talked about, but the employees get to see kind of the fruit of their labor and how that looks in their day-to-day jobs. It makes it easier for them to work and more excited about it, more engaged.
Yeah, it's like a management theorist I was reading once said, and I think it applies here. It's not changing one thing in your business 1,000%. It's changing like 1,000 things 1%. You know, so it's incremental. It doesn't have to be that big, huge idea.
Yeah, John, I think that's really what we're seeing is the majority of ideas coming from our employees are not, you know, what you might associate with innovation. They're not, you know, world-shattering new ideas to radically change our business. But what we are finding is that they're relatively easy, fast, and inexpensive to implement. But despite those things, they still produce a dramatic impact on either customer experience or operational service that we can see the result of with our clients.
As we go through this process, I think we encourage people to bring these ideas, but then as a company, we're making a concerted effort to give that continuous feedback that you guys mentioned, where we're letting people know, hey, thank you for your idea. Here's what we're thinking. And we either tell them maybe now's not the time or this isn't going to happen, but thank you. But then for those 2 out of the 10 that actually have some traction or we get curious about, we can go back and empower them to do some of the digging for us, to be involved in the projects. I think that's, you know, one thing I'm really an advocate for is if it's your idea, you get to be involved. And that just creates more, it just snowballs on that culture for people to get more ideas and more ideas. And because we have so many employees who are client facing or who are in the middle of the process, who are dealing with the members on a regular basis, daily basis, I think it gives us this universe of 400 people that can contribute ideas to the process instead of keeping it to a smaller group of people that are just kind of top down, as I think many companies have been over the years. It's refreshing that we're able to give the voice to the people that are closely tied to our clients and the processes and the membership. So,
well, thank you, Charlie. John mentioned earlier about collaborating with our clients to learn and share ideas. What other opportunities are there to seek innovation partners?
I think there's a couple of them out there. One of them that probably resonates with me a lot is something that we started probably about 3 or 4 years ago, where we created a client advisory council, and we've invited, about 12 to 15 credit unions to participate, and we meet on a quarterly basis. It's been interesting because it's given us the ability to preview projects or things that we're working on that may take many months or a year or so to implement, but we've been able to get the credit union's input early in that process. But also, as we've engaged outside experts to help us through those projects, we share that with the Credit Union Advisory Council, and some of them have created relationships with other partners as well as providing us input on how to do things differently that are more responsive to what they need. So the Credit Union Advisory Council is something that's been, I think, really good. And, it's created to last 1 year, and we gave, our credit unions that participated 1 year, we asked how many of you would like to re-up for another year? Thinking we'd have a few that did, but 100% of them re-upped. So, I felt like that was a good validation of the quality of content that we're providing and the value that they're getting out of that content and running their own businesses. So the Client Advisory Council is one that I think has been very well received from our credit unions as well as ourselves. It's given us a lot of good input on how to continue to improve. So
I love it. John?
We also have a relationship with Filene, and it's been fantastic. We support their Center for Emerging Technologies. And it's been great for our organization in that we hear from our peers, and we hear there's more of a collaboration in terms of what are you doing on your side, and how can I maybe apply that to our business as well. Filene is also recognized in the industry as having just tremendous research capability, and they have supplied a lot of information for us as we look to implement future experience for the member and take a look at it from an innovative standpoint. So they've been very helpful on that side.
Trace, we've been talking about technology and innovation and how it impacts client experience. How does State National know and when it's working?
That's a good question. And I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we do is we do an annual survey of all of our clients. We've done it for many years, but in recent times, we've kind of began analyzing the data in a little more depth. Our annual survey, we scored about a 4.8 out of a possible 5.0. Top level, that's the big number. We go ahead and we begin kind of dissecting that number to look at it based on geography, based on account size, based on account reps, our client executive team. And what we've seen, we're looking for patterns there that would catch kind of anomalies on outliers. And what we've seen is the data is really consistent across the board in supporting that level of score. Another metric that we've used over the years is a Net Promoter Score, an NPS score. And that's an industry term. All industries kind of use NPS. There's some general frameworks for what is a good score, what is a bad score, what's an average score. Anything over a 50 is generally viewed as an acceptable score. Within the insurance industry, the scores range probably in the 40s to 60s, with some of the companies you would expect in the insurance industry to outshine others, USAA. As you migrate into the technology companies that use those, you think of the big Apples, Amazons, Netflix, et cetera. Those guys tend to score in about the mid to upper 80s. Which coincidentally is where we score. Our NPS score for 2020 was an 86, which puts us right in the range with those big technology providers I just mentioned. And while our score showed some improvement from 2019 to 2020, we've always kind of hovered in that 80 range. This year at 86. It's higher than what we've had in the past, which I think is a testament to how well we performed coming out of 2020 and the challenges that were unique to that year. But overall, with our scores being consistent at those levels, The response rates that we get from our annual survey are in the 65 to 70% response rate. So we're getting a good mix of responses from account size, demographic or geographic dispersion, and then who those accounts interact with within our organization. So it gives us a really good view across all those kind of classifications into what the scores are. So very high confidence level in our scores. And again, they're exceptional and really proud of our team. And do want to thank the credit unions for providing that input. It does help us shape our strategy for the coming year or years, and we value it tremendously.
All right. Thank you, Trace, for that feedback. Charlie, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I love what Trace is talking about. It's the number that, from a client service perspective, we work for that number every year, especially the survey score and the NPS. But I think what I'm most love about seeing it this year is, if I take it back to what we talked about earlier, in 2015, 2016, our client survey score was mid fours, 4.4, 4.5. And I think as we weren't tracking NPS at that point, we started that a couple years later. But what's most encouraging to me when you talk about it in the context of implementing technology, when we really started to push this new wave with emails back in 2016, 2015, we've seen those scores just increase over time to go from a 4.4 to a 4.8. From our NPS, the first year was in the low 70s, and now we're pushing into the mid to high 80s. And that to me says what you're doing is right. The investment that you're making in technology, the investment you're making in your people and in your culture is really benefiting our client at the end of the day. And that's what we all work for, because that's what we are in business to do. So I'm really encouraged by those numbers and what we've seen over time.
Great feedback. Thank you, Charlie. Creating a culture of innovation is a key to improving member experience. Listen to what your members' needs and wants and create solutions to address those needs. Reassess those solutions, implementations to see other ways in which the solutions can be applied. Identify partners that are doing the same thing and align yourself with partners that value innovation. In other words, keeping good company. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our panel.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
My pleasure.
Thank you.